you need to learn how to put both feet in the land of Delulu.
I'm a hokey pokey all day, because no.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back for a brand new episode of the Lone Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Chelsie. This is your host, Jay Ash.
Hey.
What's up, everybody? How's it going out there? I hope y'all are having a good day, and if not, maybe this podcast will make things a little bit better for you.
We're for sure make it better, because we're awesome.
I don't know. Your book review today might make people upset, so I don't want to lie to the people.
I feel like we're gonna fight today. I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in my bones.
I feel like it's gonna be a petty fight.
Sure, whatever.
So, before we get there, Jay, you've been on the internet, and I feel like we need to address it.
The internet is a trap. What's going on? I do not associate. Meanwhile, we on the internet all the time.
Jay, you've been on the internet. You've been on the internet a lot, and you've been sending me stuff.
What I sent you?
You sent me.
Can we talk about it? What are we doing right now?
Jay, you sent me a thread of a poor man just looking for some romance Rex.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And he was like, I just want the male POV. So then you came to me and said, do men deserve their own lane in romance?
I did not say deserve. I did not say deserve. That sounds so horrible.
Okay, that wasn't your exact question, but that is, what I took from it. My reading comprehension said, That's what you were really trying to figure out. Like, could you just stay out our lane?
Okay, yeah. So when I saw that, I thought it was very interesting because, a guy was kind of like, hey, is there a romance that, written by a man with a male POV? And I thought it was so interesting because I was just like, I feel like that's actually kind of how I got into romance, from jump. Because I felt like there were so many just male-dominated, male-forward things in entertainment across the board. Especially, myself being a sports fan, sports is considered a very male-heavy space. Now, of course, that's changing. That demographic is changing for sure. And we do have some very, female-specific, news outlets and even, obviously, the rise of women's sports right now, all those things. But, growing up, it was a very male space.
Right.
And so I feel like when I kind of stumbled into romance, I loved it because it was such a very, girl female space, So it was very interesting to kind of see, 20-ish years. Actually, we're never going to put a timestamp on it. But years later, having a man being like, hey, is there a male romance, male-friendly romance? And I was like, sir, just read what we got. But I was like, oh, that's so mean. And no, so in terms of how you phrase it, which I don't think is how I said it, I do think that he deserves a safe space in romance to have these kind of books and these kind of encounters, which I yes. But it was interesting because I'm just I feel like right now it's probably going to be harder for him to find that because that's not what the genre and the vibes of the romance space is. It's not what it's for. Yeah. So, I actually kind of did a little bit of a deeper dive. I totally got trapped on the internet, and there are some male authors who are writing from male POVs. I didn't see a ton in the sounding board of people co-signing them, but it was I read one here. I read one here. I will say I have definitely read a few, and
you don't
because of those few is why I very rarely read male authors in romance. And so it's kind of just I think someone would have to highly recommend one for me to jump in because it's so I think Travis, who wrote Legends and Lattes, may be the only male author that we've read for the podcast, and I felt
for this season, yes, but I am laying the groundwork for season 2.
No, for sure, but no, I think it's the only one that we've read for this season. And I really enjoyed the writing, and in that particular case, Travis also did the audiobook for that book, and I enjoyed the reading. And so it's just I'm not saying that I don't read male authors or I don't think that they're good. That's not it at all. It's just usually the perspective isn't what I'm looking for when I'm reading specifically romance. And also, like, when I do like do my little action and spy stuff, I prefer a female author too, because I feel like it's a more female empowered point of view versus like, oh, damsel in distress kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, yes, absolutely, men deserve to have that space and have those authors and have those books and those experiences. But I also would kind of like to caveat and be like, I don't want that to be the majority or a big swing in that direction, like selfishly.
Yeah.
But I think there should absolutely be, you know, that for everyone.
Thank you for your very political answer.
Could never go into politics.
I'm going to tell y'all right now, I think that there should be a space for the male POV in romance books. Mm-hmm. But you cannot request the male POV and then still tell us that it's unrealistic what these men are doing in these books, all right? Don't come into our genre and then start telling us how to do things, okay?
I like that distinction.
Because here's the thing, right? I read a lot of books where it's dual POV, but it's written from a female author. There is a male romance author that I have my eye on, which I will be reading in our off season, so that if I want to bring him as a book to the table, I can fight for my rights. But other than that, I don't see a lot of male authors, period, in the romance genre.
I also would like to just make a little note, like a little asterisk, because this was brought up like in the comments on Threads, where it's just like, in this case, it also looks like you're looking for like cis male authors with heteronormative characters. And in that case, that's where I feel like it's a smaller market, because I feel like if you have queer authors or with queer characters, I feel like there is a lot more. I think we have talked about this in some of our books over the podcast, where it's like there's just a lot more in that entire. It's weird for me to call it a genre, because I consider it a genre romance, but like in those like characteristics or those demographics than there were before. So I think it's just to note the fact that it's like in this very specific pocket within romance, it's not a lot of it. But definitely if you're looking more into the queer space, there is a lot more. And there usually are written by male or non-binary authors. But just I find it's rarer to find a heteronormative thing in that situation, just for that distinction.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I don't read a lot of queer fiction. Not that I'm against it, y'all, so don't try and come for me in the comments. It's just usually the stories are just not what I'm looking for. So then I just go, I don't want to read it because I don't really care about the subject matter, you know? Yeah. But I will say in the queer world, there are a lot of male stories. Which might not be what that guy on Threads was looking for, you know?
Right. And that's what he did make clear, because someone was just like, are you more open to this? And he was like, yes, but it's not really what I'm looking for. He's like, I am looking for like this specific interaction. So yeah, just to kind of make that clear. Yeah, I also find that like male stories kind of lose me like 3/4 of the way through, which is so interesting, because there's some really popular ones that I read and I couldn't finish reading them, but thankfully they've been turned into movies or shows, and I was like, okay, I'll just watch to find out what happens in the end. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But it was just like, yeah, like you lose me like 3/4 of the way, and it's very interesting because I'm just like, it's a different way of storytelling. It's a different story being told, and it's just like, it's interesting that this specific combination makes me lose interest. Like literally 3/4 through, it's like every time, it's like by the halfway point, I'm like, okay. And then at the 3/4 point, I'm just like, do I want to know what happens? And I kind of like, just gonna close this slowly.
In order to avoid a fight over how you DNF books, I'm gonna skip past that whole sentence there, and then just jump along here, if you will, for the sake of our friendship and the rest of this episode.
We're gonna have a lot to fight about, so yeah, that's fine.
while I was looking at this poor child's thread of him asking for book recs and the internet just going, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about how we recommend books in the first place to people. Because Jay, I have found myself in some troubling times here in these book rec streets.
Okay.
So I have a friend who likes to recommend books for me to read, not because she thinks I'll enjoy them, but because she enjoyed them.
I have friends like that too.
And I just went, what are you doing? And then also, Jay, you came for me in our production meeting, and I need to discuss this in front of everyone.
Why are we airing out private laundry publicly?
Because when we picked this book topic, right? You said, you know, it's kind of like when people recommend a book, but they use like TV shows or movies to compare it. And it was feeling like a subtweet, because that is how I recommend books sometimes. Like, sometimes I can't think of a book that's comparable, all right? But I can think of a TV show or movie that gives the same vibes.
No, I wasn't summing at all. Because, like, that's pop culture. Pop culture speaks in movies and TV shows. Like, even on this podcast, how many times have we quoted stuff? You know? So, no, I don't mind when people use movies or a show to help describe or, like, sell their book rack. I will say this, I don't specifically love it when authors do it, because I kind of feel like you should be able to sell me on the plot and the characters on their own. But when like people do it, I'm more okay with it. I can see the judgment. I can see the judgment.
I'm not judging you. I'm just saying I'm one of those people who needs the author to give me some sort of pop culture reference.
Really?
Okay. Because here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, you're going to rec a book and give me a book that's comparable, and I'm going to go, I own it, haven't read it. I've seen it, haven't read it. But if you wreck it with a TV show or a movie, the odds of me having seen it are 10 times higher.
Okay. All right.
But I also feel like it helps with the generational divides when you're selling a book. Like, I went into a bookstore, and this woman was like a whole mom. Like, had kids in the bookstore with her. Clearly older than me.
As opposed to a half a mom.
Shh. I'm not having this conversation with you again. But she and I were talking about a book, and she was like, oh, have you read this one? And I was like, yeah, have you? She was like, no. And I was like, did you watch Charmed? And she was like, yeah, I love the show. And I was like, bet, this is definitely like Phoebe and Cole vibes here. And she was like, oh, I'm reading it.
Okay. I have no problem with it. I mean, as a TV and movie girl, like, I speak that language. I think the reason why I feel like I don't love it past a certain extent is because then I feel like I'll read it comparing it to the like relation, and I'm just like, this isn't like that at all. And I don't love that.
That's because your brain, sweetheart. That's your brain.
The association is so hard. Like, don't make it harder for me.
Disassociate.
How you do that?
Disassociate.
How you do that?
You live in the land of Delulu.
That's
just like today's book.
I don't know what exit that is off the highway.
Listen, that's exit 73B, all right? Listen,
don't
that's just
add
like today's
to the exit. Just name it a different exit, because now I'm confused.
What do you mean? All exits come with a number and sometimes a letter.
Sometimes, yes. I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather they just be 74, 75, 76, 77.
You know?
Or like when it's 74 ABC.
You're not going to make me crazy today. You're not. We're not doing this today, Jay. I love you. But you need to learn how to put both feet in the land of Delulu. Okay? You always got one foot in, one foot out. And trying to do the hokey pokey around the Delulu.
I'm a hokey pokey all day, because no.
You know what?
Oh, God.
I need 5 seconds. Give me 5 seconds.
Yo, I think I broke Chelsie.
Tap it. Do you tap? That's what it is, right? I don't even know. I'm just trying to pull it together, because right now, Jay, you know what? We're gonna take a pre-K pause.
We haven't talked about this book. That's one of our rules with the podcast. We can't talk about a book before. But I feel
she hit me with a subliminal that let me know everything I needed to know about how she felt. I feel like we
accidentally told the vibes of it. Also, you were tracking my reading speed, and then you were like, I already know, and I was like, that is a giveaway.
Okay, I wasn't personally
you weren't tracking it, but as we were doing our meetings and
guys,
stuff, it was
so we're talking, right? We're talking, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm 80% through this book. I'll finish it eventually. It's whatever." That right there told me everything I needed to know.
First of all, why are we so in sync that is such a giveaway? Because it was that's literally all I said, and you were like, I already know how you feel about it. And I was just but we haven't talked about it. You were like, and I was like, oh, we gonna be fighting. And that was literally.
But then on top of that, you didn't even try to throw me off the scent. You just were like, yup. And I was
yeah, you got me.
So I think before we get to fighting, all right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to just take a pre-K pause here.
Okay.
And maybe do something that's a little bit more enjoyable and that might save our friendship.
Ooh. Wait.
I think it's...
This is the meeting? What are we doing?
This is the part of the show where we give our weekly book recommendations. We've been doing it for a couple of weeks now.
I love this part. Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. What's up?
Jay, you brought up a topic this week, which is comfort reads.
Yes.
Which is a little hard for someone who doesn't reread books.
Do you have to reread it for it to be comfort? If you read it once and it stays with you and feels like a hug, does that not count?
But I feel like you have to revisit it for it to be a comfort read. If it was just the one
time
thing,
as a rereader, yes. But if you don't reread, then it just, I love this book. It made me feel good. Would be suffice. I feel like
that's how I had to do it.
Yeah, I feel like if it's good enough to be on your vibe shelf, it counts.
Yes.
There we go. A comfort read can be determined by each person because it's their own thing.
Sure. Go ahead and tell the people what's on your comfort read list.
Y'all, so I had a list. I had a list, and I had to be ooh, I gotta dwindle this down. And then I was trying to be good, be let me give people opportunities that haven't previously already been mentioned on the podcast. Hold all your eye rolls.
I didn't make an eye roll. I just held in a yawn.
Okay. So one of mine is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I actually have to give a quick shout out to Allie Rosen because me and her read very similar books, and this was on one of her happy books little recaps that she does on Instagram. And I was like, okay, cool. If Allie likes it, I'll probably like it. Oh my god, I love this book. If you guys haven't picked up on it, I have a little bit of a spy heart that I love, but also having it be romance as well. So in The Bodyguard is a woman and she's guarding a very famous actor as someone is threatening his life, and they're trying to keep it as normal as possible as they're going to his family home. So they're pretending to be a couple to kind of save face for the family while she still protects him. Which is this is up and down the lane a book for me. Fake dating, forced proximity, and kind of, it's not spy, bodyguard, but still she can fight. So yes. And there's a lot of other drama in the book too. So lock in, buckle up, it's all there. So yeah, The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, love. So
I'm going to be honest. You kept saying The Bodyguard, and there was only one mental reference I had.
Of the movie, yeah.
But here's the thing, Kevin Costner.
Listen.
Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston.
Listen.
If you have not seen The Bodyguard, that still gives you forced proximity, all right?
It does.
Ugh, the romance, the vibes.
Yes, honestly, now that I think about it, it's kind of similar in terms of the setup, but it's just swap. Is that the female is the bodyguard and he's the famous actor. So yeah, it's very similar. I never really put that two together, but yeah.
Yeah. So what's your second pick while I think about Mr. Kevin?
So it's gonna be Big Rock by Lauren Blakely. I didn't do this on purpose, but now that I think about it, this is another fake relationship. I just put those two together. So the MMC is like a very self-made man, but his family also has money and connections as well. And so in this book, it's the Big Rock is referring to like a ring. His family owns a jewelry store, and to try to help his father like sell the business properly and everything like that, he has to be seen as like a stable investment and family man himself, even though he's very much like a bachelor. And so he calls up his best friend, who's a woman, to be like, hey, you know me better than anybody. I need to look like I'm not who I am. I trust you. Like, can we do this? And fake dating, which again, I didn't do on purpose. But so then like, this is the one thing I will say in a real life situation. I'm very much a fan that men and women can be friends with no problems. In this book, it couldn't be the case because she's in love with him, and I hate that. Like, say something. But anyway, in this particular case, like, she's actually in love with him. So when they kind of go on this adventure, she's like living her best life pretending to date the man that she's in love with, and he's kind of like, oh, okay. And just like so much hilarity and the protection that they have for each other, because at the end of the day, they have been friends for years. So the way that they protect each other and all of this stuff like that, and all the hilarity, and then like a rogue teenager, it's always a rogue teenager that helps like throw stuff off and add like a surprise, like I was gonna say surprise spice, but not in this case, but like a surprise like wrench in the plan. Oh, because you always gotta watch those teenagers with their cell phones because they always recorded something. So yeah, it's very entertaining from beginning to end. It reads like watching a rom-com. Like I think that's one of the best ways I can describe the experience of it. It reads like watching a rom-com, and oh my god, and it's set in New York City, and it gives you good New York vibes. Like you can tell this is like upper echelon kind of New York, but it has a good vibe. Like you go through Central Park, like you're walking down Upper West Side, all those things. Like you get a nice city feel while you're in this book as well. So yep, those are my two.
Well, now that I've heard your choices, we have gone in completely different directions here.
Of course. I feel like what comforts me and what comforts you are two very different things.
Yeah. All right. So my first book is called Next to You. It is by Hannah. It's by Hannah Bonham Young. I almost called her the actress's name, so I was like, let me get this together. Yep. It is about a girl who is like many of us in our late 20s, early 30s, just trying to figure out what the heck to do with life. You know, where does she go? Somewhere along the way, she decides she's gonna become a van lifer. And so she buys a old school bus and renovates it into a home. Okay. With the help of a friend, and of course, along the way, they happen to fall in love with each other. Although he was secretly in love with her for a while, but she just didn't notice it.
I still want to make a van joke, but I'm not going to.
Please don't. Don't. Like, when I tell you this felt like a hug, I mean, like, literally reading it, because she has PTSD like me, and I was just like, it's very rare to get like those true representations. And it's like, at one point he literally just goes, you need to handle this before we can handle this. And I literally was like, come back. God.
Yes.
I was like, come back, please.
The people that want you to like better yourself in the most positive way and are still rooting for you. Yes.
Also, the main male character is Polynesian.
Ooh, I know someone I can wreck that book to immediately.
Yeah, no, it's actually very amazing. I went out and bought another book by Hannah because I was like, I gotta keep this feeling going. I would highly recommend it. I literally sent a picture of it in the group chat to my girls, and I was like, you gotta read it. You got to. Like, oh, so good. You know, when I made this list, I didn't think about the list.
Now I know this list.
So the second book on this list is very different than the first book. Mm-hmm. It's called Lights Out by Navessa Allen. It is a book that came out this year.
I feel like I know what this book is. I know exactly.
First things first, I'm not embarrassed by the book choice. It is purely me just laughing at the fact of, like, Jay's over here being like, I love a good spy intrigue. And I'm over here like, so here's a book about a guy who's famous on the internet for posting videos in a mask, doing questionable things, and accidentally stalks a girl. And it's a rom-com. It's like, ooh. To give it a similar book vibe, it's like Butcher and Blackbird without all the schmurder. There's only one schmurder in this book.
Only one.
It was accidental.
Only one.
Okay. The audiobook is fantastic. I was literally cackling as I listened to some parts of it. Other parts I definitely had to turn the volume down or put my headphones in because I was like, people can't hear what I'm listening to. But highly recommend. Spice level on 1000. And it is definitely for all the girls who can ride the handle, if you know what I mean.
The way I haven't read this book, but I know what you're talking about, is crazy.
You know, it is what it is.
Like, I feel like you're on a mission to ruin kitchens for me this season. Like, I'm scared to walk into my kitchen now.
Nothing happened in a kitchen.
Use kitchen tools.
It wasn't a kitchen tool. It wasn't.
It absolutely was.
It absolutely was not a kitchen tool.
It was a kitchen tool's cousin.
Jay, the problem is now we're just headed into more fight territory, and I'm trying to delay it as best as I can.
No, let's get into it. Let's go.
All right. I don't want to do this, Jay, but here we go.
You know what? I was kind of just like, let me be like calm. But I don't know. You've ruined a couple books for me. Maybe this should be like my villain episode. Like,
you can try. I live in the land of Delulu a lot better than you.
I don't know if I want that fight, because I feel like you'd be like, all right, buckle up, and I'd be like crying in the corner.
Anyway, today's book is Tangled in Tinsel by my girl, Trelina Pucci. Number one, I'm a fan of her in general, because her stories of writing are hilarious. Like the time she decided she wanted to make sure that a certain position was accurate, and she accidentally did it in front of the window as the gardener was walking by.
That's the author? I actually love her on social media. She is hilarious. I read that post about the gardener, and I could not stop laughing.
But Tangled in Tinsel is apparently not one of your favorites. And I think I know why. So I'm not going to fight you too hard.
Okay.
But if you come for my characters, we will have problems.
I don't like how you're threatening me from jump. I don't like it.
Well, let's just start off at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Samantha, a beautiful interior designer, setting up a house for a Christmas party. When she finds out that there's a snowstorm coming, and she is now stuck on the top of this mountain with the 4 owners of this house, and lots of food and lots of booze.
I thought Alec was the owner of the house.
I think he's technically the owner, but they're all her boss.
Yes, but it's Alec's house, and they're all coming to his house because that's where they're doing the party. Yes.
You know, the ownership when you're in this kind of situation, I don't know if it's quite as simple and black and white as we like to make things.
I like contracts. It's Alec's house.
if you could just take the pinky toe of that second foot and put it in the land of Delulu, this would be a lot easier. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, continue.
So just rude and dismissive. So
are we gonna fight? Go ahead.
So
I'm not being rude. Go ahead.
So Jay, when she finds out that she is snowed in, thanks to her sister Eleanor, what were your thoughts going into this as these beautiful men are flirting with her? This is not your thing at all, is it? You didn't even like this aspect?
Okay, first of all, let's start with all of the characters. You have Samantha, Eleanor's her sister, Alec, Reed, Cole, and Jace. Okay. Mm-hmm. I did like how each character had their own thing. Like, they were never like, these two were similar. It was like they have their own thing. Right. I did also like the way that Trelina, like, connected them. So, like, Alec and Jace were football players. So they knew each other from playing professional football together. Right. On two different teams too. So like they had stuck together, their friendship still lasts, whatever the case may be. Reed and Cole knew each other from college, I believe. Or like they had all met, so it's not the point. Anyway, I like the way that the guys and their friendship was connected, but I like how they all had their own different vibe. Even when it comes to like how they dress, how they carry themselves, their demeanor, like their verbiage, whatever. This, I'm pretty sure, I can't be completely certain because I didn't do a deep dive, but I'm pretty sure this is my first Why Choose.
Okay. Had I known that, this would not have been on the list. This would not have been on the list.
I'm not completely certain, but it's possible. It's possible. And I will say this. So something that you highlight as like such a pro, which is like the way Trulina does it.
Whoa. Let's clarify what I'm a pro at before we get into this.
Okay, hold on.
Please and thank you.
Let me finish this sentence. This makes me want to call your daddy. Okay. You are pro the fact that Trelina has a female main character that is pretty undefined. Yes. I found out I don't like that. I do not. I do not like that. Please define her. But okay, I will say this. I didn't love a lot of what was happening here, but I think it's because I was never really sold on any of the main male characters. Like, any one of them as an individual, it was kind of like for me, of the options, Alec was the one I was rocking with the most.
I already knew that.
Wait, how did you know?
Reed is too much of a fuckboy for you.
Uh-huh.
His one-liners would have turned you off the minute he even thought them.
I did find them funny, but I would have never taken them seriously, correct.
Jace, I feel like it's just not your type. There's nothing wrong with him. He's, like, first off, how do you make a Boston accent sexy? I'm still lost on Trelina.
I was confused every time she mentioned that, and I was just like, please stop reminding me he's from Boston. Please.
I just kept hearing the words wicked and dunks, and I went, no, I'm okay.
And so, like, mentally, I actually switched over to Chase, because I was like, Chris Evans is from Boston, but I was like, yeah, but he doesn't sound like it.
No, he hides it. Every Boston actor hides it, because, like, I think about, like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and I was just literally like, y'all hide it. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon do sound good, though.
Unless they're all together in Boston, and then they kind of, like, let it run wild.
Cole?
Yeah.
He's a little bit too dominant for you.
way too intense. He was just too cold. Also, and I did say this like multiple times through reading. I was like, I also don't like their names. Like, I don't feel like their names matches their energy, and that also threw me.
Yeah. Alec is described as like a Superman type, a little salt and pepper to his hair. And I feel like that was more up your alley. He's a little bit more laid back, but he still is very much a consent king, which you love. Mm-hmm. And I said, out of the four, that's her dude.
Yeah. For me, Alec was the only one that I was kind of like, all right. But then at the same time, he's also very passive in a collective way, I guess is a good way of saying it. So it was also like, even though who I was rocking with, he was kind of like, not always in the corner, but he was primarily in the corner. So it's kind of
that's
like,
his kink. So
definitely a part of like what he was into in his kink. So just like not judging that in any way, but I was kind of just like, okay.
So
I think so. I will say this. I'm gonna say this. I'm not done reading Truly Not.
Oh, I thought you were about to say I haven't finished the book, and I was like, Jay, you choose now to say this?
Oh, no, I read the book. I'm not done reading her books. I just feel like this specific one wasn't all of the right, like, combinations for me. But there were definitely moments that I thought were very sweet. And so this is the thing that I find very interesting. Out of everything, including Alec, my favorite character in the whole book was actually Eleanor. Like, the sister was who I was rocking with the whole book. Like, I thought she was hilarious. I thought she'd be a great comedic, like, addition. Also giving, like, good advice and bad advice at the same time. Like, I was rocking with Eleanor. And so I was just like, I really just don't feel like I connected to Sam. And I wonder if it's because of the whole, like, undefined FMC. Sorry, that was a dyslexia. Yeah, FMC. Because I was just like, I feel so detached from her and her experience. And I was kind of just like, I feel like this is like Hallmark After Dark. And I was just like,
So I wonder if you'll enjoy Not So Lucky, which I have wrecked on this podcast.
You have wrecked on the podcast. And I realized, like, while I was reading it, I was just like, oh, that's Eleanor's story. And I was like, now I really want to read that. Because I, like, already have, like, a connection to Eleanor where I'm just like, I just feel like I didn't connect with Sam in this book, and that kind of started from jump. Like, it kind of started pretty early that I wasn't really connected with her, and I kind of feel like that kind of glided throughout. And then, Alec being my favorite of the options, and then him not being the most dominant. I mean, obviously, it's hard to be dominant in a group situation.
Like, the most active player in the situation.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, I'm not crapping on the book. I did enjoy some parts for sure. There were a lot of elements I thought were really sweet, but just this one wasn't for me.
So then let's break it down here, because since you said there are elements of it you did enjoy, because like personally for me, the thought of being not locked in, but snowed into a cabin with 4 very dominant males who won't stop flirting with me sounds like a gift and a curse. That I just be like, yo, can someone just bring an ice pack? Can somebody find an ice pack? All right, make one out of a snowball. I don't care, but we need to figure this out.
Like that, because I heard you the first time, but then it like processed while I was laughing. Can you break that down?
Beginning is very realistic. You know, obviously weather controls it all. That part, at least. And I mean, why can't it be a realistic journey that 4 dudes want me? Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Listen, not questioning that part at all.
From there, I did find it interesting how the whole plot comes to be, in the sense of, like, they sent Reed in to really test the waters after they found out that she was feeling cold. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm listening, go ahead.
No, I want to know, why are you shaking your head? What's your problem with Reed and testing the waters?
I don't have a problem, I just thought that was a silly plan.
Why?
I thought they should have sent Jace. Cole got, like, whether it was intentional or not, got, like, the first dose of, oh, snap, we got a shot. And then I think they should have sent in Jace. Because, interesting enough, I thought it was, the way that it was written, the fact that she kind of already had a previous encounter, not sexually, but a previous encounter with Reed and Jace, so I thought that they should have sent Jace, especially because he like emotionally connects, which is interesting because like once she kind of does say yes, they do send in Jace as like the first wave to being like, okay, let's like be calm and let's like work through this and talk through this. So it's just like you see the value in him, but I feel like they use him in the wrong time.
Wait, I think you're confused. Because Jace and Reed didn't have interactions with her before Reed made the deal about meeting under the mistletoe. It was very much like everybody knew each other from like the houses and stuff and the interior decorating, but it wasn't until what?
Reed, when she was doing his house, she got there early and he was still in bed.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
So that one.
I get what you're
and
saying.
Then Jace, it was with the whole like, he's like, oh, do you want to see my tattoos? And he just let her like circle him. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a sexual interaction, but it was a connection on some level. So that's why I was just like,
hell, in that case, they all had some sort of connection. They were out here like education connection, all right?
But I was saying, but of the two, I feel like Jace would have been more delicate than Reed. I would have sent in Jace. That's why I was saying I thought the plan was silly to send in Reed first.
I mean, it would have been funny to watch Reed just fail miserably when she was like, no. But after Cole had his little shower moment and then the kiss afterwards, like, all bets were off. It didn't matter. They knew they had it in. They said that door is open in.
I will say this, like, for me, it was a little annoying reading the whole, like, Alex saw her in Chicago, and that's why they were all like, ooh. Like, it was a little annoying reading that for me because Homegirl spent the whole, like, snowed-in dinner, like, conversation, like, you're reading into everything. They're not flirting with you. They're not giving you... Like, she, like she was like, nah, I'm reading into things. And they were like, no, they actually were. So I was like so frustrated that she didn't find out until like way later. Because the whole first day is like her jumping through hula hoops and be like, nah, it's me.
I feel like that's so accurate. Being like, am I the drama? Am I? Because I, for sure, in her seat would have been the same way. I would have just been sitting there like, yo, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. They are just my bosses. I'm wine drunk. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Also, I kind of appreciate the author making Samantha, like you said, wine drunk. Because I feel like that's so rarely the alcohol used. When it's like, probably, I mean, I don't want to, like, speak for all women or anything, but I feel like that's the alcohol that women, like, casually drink the most is wine. And so I love that she got, like, wine drunk.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Because our girl Sam makes a choice. And I've read this book twice now, and both times I just go, this was you, okay? So she decides that she has questions for the guys before they make their arrangement. And
I feel like I know what you're about to talk about, and I actually love this entire moment.
She comes out fully in Alex snow gear from head to toe, including a beanie, and then places herself in front of a fireplace and goes, I have questions.
Girl, you was not thinking straight at all. Okay,
she said, I'm gonna risk it for real.
No, for me it was the boots. Because I was like, girl, your toes are in danger. Like, come on now.
The beanie? What is
And here's the thing. It was one of those things where I was just like, I love the sentiment. I love the thought behind the process. But I was like, the execution is off.
Poor execution. 100%.
Yeah, I love that moment. I feel like that was such like a rom-com moment, and I was here for it. But then like her passing out, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like, I hated that part. Because it was like, girl, like you have no self-preservations in your bones at all. Like you didn't feel the heat.
The minute she started doing this movement, I would be like, yo, I'm sorry. Maybe we should just have this conversation through a door, but this gotta come off.
Or also just, like, stand in the doorway. Why are you still in front of the fire? Like, go stand by the window where the outfit makes the most sense.
That so part, I was chill. Like, ma'am?
Yeah, I was like, girl.
Our boys come to the rescue of our girl, right? They save her right as she's passing out. Mm-hmm. And then we have a Freaknik weekend, which, I mean, what else can I say?
I feel like there were other choices.
I don't know if I want to break down every interaction that they had once the deal
I'm
was
for
in
sure
place.
Not going to.
Yeah, I would like to look people in the eye after this episode.
I will say this: I did like how, for the most part, like them within them, like them amongst themselves, the guys had like a good flow, a good understanding, and a good element of sharing that works out for them. And then I also appreciated how, like, with incorporating Sam, it was for the most part relatively seamless. Like, one thing that I liked that Sam kept mentioning was the whole, like, them. And, like, she was kind of just like, it's not a one-off thing. It's a collective, It's a collective feeling. And I also appreciate, even within the them, that there was still time and space for individual attention and for individual, like, moments. Kind of just, like, cementing the connection across the board. So, for me, it's not a complete wash. It was just not my story as overall, but I definitely did appreciate some moments. Like, I definitely did appreciate some moments. Like, even with the fainting, even though I hated the fact that she fainted, I feel like the care of which they showed to her during that moment was so sweet. And I think it even in the end, like, went towards why she was falling for them as people. Right. Because, like, they cared about her and protected her beyond just, like, a plaything. Oh, I don't like saying that, but I feel like it's an accurate statement.
I mean, they definitely played for show. Uh-huh. So
I can't be mad at that. That's pretty tame. I'm not mad at that one.
Thank you. So as the weekend of them being snowed in together progresses, they all start to realize that they have feelings for each other, but then choose not to say anything, which didn't make sense though. Okay.
You said it did, or did it?
It did not make sense that they were confused, because there's literally the moment where Alec is showing her the sunrise from Jace's bedroom, and she says, "I wish this could last beyond the weekend." And he goes, "So do I, Samantha," because number one, I hate that Alec always calls her Samantha. It drives me up a wall.
Yes, but I did like the fact that each one of them had their own thing for her. So you had Sunshine, Gorgeous,
Princess, Baby. No, so yes, but the real nicknames were Baby, which was Cole's, Sunshine, which was Reed, and then
Jace is Gorgeous.
Yes, and then Alec always called her Samantha.
Samantha, yeah.
But I didn't understand when it was, like, time for them to leave and they were all acting confused. And I was like, Alec, she literally told you in your one-on-one time that she wanted it to last longer. So why are we playing dumb? I feel like she had
a little bit of a moment like that with all of them, of kind of, like, the want and the desire and the need to, like, be wanted and to be asked. Like, even when there was kind of the whole, like, after the, like, in the middle of the tent, which that stopping the way that did was weird, but like when the fire chief came and was like, "Oh yeah, the roads are clear, you can go," and Cole was like, "Leave my shirt on the bed," I was like, I would have fast-tailed out of there so fast. And I was like, y'all gotta learn how to communicate.
But let's rewind just a little bit, because Reed and her have a moment in the bedroom where it's clear that they both are trying to say something but aren't emotionally intelligent to say it all the way. Her and Jace, which I thought was
very on par with Reed. I was a little frustrated with Samantha, but I understood, because she was kind of like, "Oh, it's an agreed upon deal, whatever." But yes, very on par with Reed. I thought that was so true to his character.
Her and Alec then have a moment in Jace's bedroom, right? And then her and Jace have a moment in the tent right before the fire chief comes, where all three of these moments, it's very clear that they don't want it to end. And they have it on the tip of their tongue. And then when it's time for her to leave, Cole, in his defense mechanisms, decides this is the moment I'm going to just lock down my walls and show no emotion by saying, just leave my shirt on the bed. Like, do you want me to leave it in pieces? Try that sentence again.
Can I say I absolutely loved how the next chapter was Alex's perspective. Because him going down the line of each of the guys, like, oh, he'll say it because I can see it, and he'll say it because I can see it. And I'm like, bro, you say it if you know.
I was like, Superman saved the day. Just save the day.
But I really loved like seeing it from his perspective, because Samantha only knows them before this weekend professionally. He knows these guys professionally, personally, intimately. So it's like emotionally. So he knows all of their little things. So for him seeing them, and the way I said it was like them four in a line, Alec was first, boom, boom, boom. So it's like him seeing them and their interactions with her as she's saying goodbye. I was just like, bro, like by the time you got to Cole and they didn't do anything, you should have been like, hey. And yes, consent queen. I loved how in one of their fight they were saying like, oh, well, we agreed like it was the weekend, it's just uncharted waters, whatever. And they were just like, yeah, but we never even gave her a choice. Because they're like, oh, we're respecting her boundary. But it's like, yeah, but we never even told her or gave her the choice that there was something beyond this pre-established like outcome.
What pissed me off was just like, y'all could have said, hey, do you want to hang out again? Or like, we'll see you down the mountain.
Next
something.
Weekend after next, like something.
At least only for the week, he said, we got a week. Right? And then at the end of the week, he said, I don't want just the week. In this one, they said, only for the weekend. I want you for the week. Like, it was like I want you, but I'm not going to say it out loud. And I was just sitting there like, y'all are 4 grown adults. Some of y'all were willing to go out on a football field and have someone tackle you at absurd speeds. But telling this woman that you want her to stay is hard?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for me, it was especially like Cole because apparently in his backstory, he did not grow up like with money. He didn't grow up with a cushy life. So like, I can understand Reed not taking that step, even though I thought like his arrogance would have made him, but and Alec kind of like did his breakdown of that in the POV, but for Cole not to do it, even though he knows what like hard things are and to fight for what you want, I was like, bro.
Yeah. So, Samantha goes home.
I love Eleanor. I love her sister.
Eleanor. Yo, her book is actually really funny. I hope you enjoy it. Like
I will read it because this one was a no for me, but that one might be my yes.
So, Eleanor is very supportive, but also smacks her sister upside the head and says, why don't you say something?
Yes, because you didn't communicate. You did not communicate.
The guys all show that they still care by texting her. And Eleanor says, I quit. And I just went, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay, like professionally, I hated that because it was like, girl, he fired you because that was a boundary for you in terms of him being a client. But then he also said, we will replace ourselves so that you're not losing any money. And this girl said, neither option.
Well, I mean, like, let's be real. Just because she said I quit doesn't mean they're not going to replace them with, like, equal clients. You know what I mean? I think she like me, doesn't know what to say because her word vomit is actually worse than mine. But I just went, they're all showing that they care. You couldn't even ask them if they made it down the mountain as like a open the door a little bit, see if they open it the rest of the way kind of moment.
Ooh. Yeah, I was a little irritated with her for not even like testing to potentially see if this could be another, if not anything else than just a weekend, like even though things did run deeper than that, but like she was so staying true to like, oh, they only said a weekend. I was just like,
girl, F a weekend. F a weekend. All right. In this situation, y'all might have said only for the weekend, but I'm telling you right now, I'll be back next weekend. Because you said weekends. I heard plural. I might be Delulu, but I heard weekends.
That was in the verbal contract.
Yeah, you know what? You should have enunciated better. That's not my fault if you only meant one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But we survived Christmas and we get to New Year's. Number one, the comedic writing in this last chapter, chef's kiss. This poor Christopher fellow that is on the date with her. First off, sir, when these 4 grown men walk into this room, you should have scurried away. You should have known in that moment.
I respect that he did it.
I respect that he didn't. I'm just saying, but the odds were not in your favor.
Even Eleanor was like, sir, read the room. Like, nah. But I respect that he stood his ground. He was trying to defend this woman that he's not in a relationship with, but like was on a date with. It's like, don't you call her that? I was like, yes, Christopher. You be a good Christopher.
Eleanor was like, shut up. She actually likes being called this. And then my favorite though was like when he raised his hand to like point out something and Jace just lowered it for him. He was like, shh, no boo boo. Like the guys were just like, if you could just,
you're irrelevant. Go away.
They just said, shh, go, Mike.
Yeah.
That for me was fantastic. I will say the countdown made me a little anxious when she was like debating it in her head. I was like,
I agree. I hated the countdown. I did not like it. I was like I felt tense reading it.
That was the point, Jay.
I did not like the experience, Chelsie.
Okay, fair. So in the end, she does agree to be in a polyamorous relationship. That word's hard.
You know what's so funny? I could never have a polyamorous relationship, but I find them very intriguing, and I always like to be like, I wonder what happens here. And it was very interesting to me because, like, with that being said, I feel like I only like polyamory when it's fictional. Like, even when you see, like, documentary on polyamorous couples, I'm like, I don't like y'all. I don't like y'all move. But, like, a fictional one, I'm like, oh, this is so... I never thought of that.
Honestly, I could never be in polyamory because, number one, why are you looking at her like that? Why are you touching on her? We got problems.
I couldn't do it. I'm not a jealous person, but I feel like that would give me reason to be.
You know, my mother failed sharing in kindergarten, and I think I took after her. That's all I'm gonna say.
I will say this, the one thing I wish was in the book, and just because I feel like the humor would have been top notch, is like, after New Year's, they decide, like, hey, it's not normal, it's not the standard, but we're going to go for this, and we're going to deal with all the things that come with it. And it goes, like, we have to deal with, like, mad dads. And she was like, mine? And I was like, I would have loved to have read that scene of them at the house with the dad. Like, I feel like the humor would have been off the charts hilarious for that scene. Because Eleanor, Eleanor would have been in the corner snickering and instigating. The mom would have just been like, I feel like the mom would have been a mix between just like gobsmacked with how hot the guys are, and also being just like, I feel like I should ask questions, but I don't have any.
From memory, because it's been a minute since I read Not So Lucky, but I think we still get a piece of that in Not So Lucky. Like, it's still referenced there.
Okay.
And then I think it's Alec who makes an appearance at the end. It's either Alec or Jace. Mm-hmm. Because Eleanor ends up with a football player and chaos ensues, and then Jace or Alec end up showing up at a football game. It's a whole thing. But yeah, there is some crossover. Okay. And then there is a book 2 to this that's coming out.
A book 2 to this?
To Tangled in Tinsel, yeah.
So Not So Lucky isn't book 2?
So, what I mean like a book 2 is I mean like there's an actual sequel involving all 5 characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to come out this holiday season. So it's the third book,
but it's the follow-up to this story.
Yeah, gotcha. English.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
Words. Words are hard.
No, the epilogue I actually really liked. So the epilogue almost saved the book for me. Like, the epilogue made me go, okay, this is, like, the happy ever after that I like. I love that they went back to, like, where it began. Her, like, cooking for the guys or whatever. Like, I thought that was really cute. The humor, again, in that. The Chipmunk song. Yeah, so there's moments. There's definitely moments. I do like certain moments. But as a whole, it wasn't for me. But I absolutely am going to read Not So Lucky. Because I love Eleanor, and I feel like there's enough good writing and enough good humor that I'm like, there's pieces that I like, but it just wasn't combined in the right way here. Give me another shot.
So then I'm intrigued now to know what you rated it.
You want me to go first? Or do you want to go?
Yeah.
Go second. Okay.
Absolutely.
I rated it a 2.
Okay.
I rated it a 2. Yeah, like at 44% of the book, I was like, okay, it's a 2 unless it gets any better. And then, like I said, there were moments that I did like and I appreciated, but it didn't jump it up any higher. Because, like, literally for me, a 2 is like, I finished it, didn't really like it, I'm not going to reread it, which I'm not. So, yeah, it's a 2.
All right. The first time I read it, which, funny enough, was right around this time last year. I rated it a 3.
Okay.
And this time around, I actually thought about bumping it up to a 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to sit around a 3.5 stars for me. It's definitely, I would say, a comfort read. Like, if I were to read a book again, I have no problem reading this one again if I read it every year during the holidays. Listen, Jace, call me. Like, if I could have a mix between Jace and Cole.
I was gonna say, for me, I was like, I thought it was more on the Cole side for you, but I can see a Jace and Cole combo.
I like,
literally.
I don't want to continue this episode. Please stop talking.
Let's go.
I think the comedic writing is fantastic through this whole thing.
Yes.
It was.
I literally wrote down some of the quotes, and I was just like, it's kind of like when you say stuff, I'm like, I hate the way this is phrased, but I respect it. I just don't co-sign it. And there were so many ones. Like, she was like, oh, an STD of the heart. And I was like, miss, why would you put that on paper? But I was like, I get it, but I don't co-sign.
So, the comedic writing was great. I did get a little lost in how people were laying and whose hands went where, but you know, when you've got 5 people in a bed, it's hard to keep track of who's where.
It got confusing, and I was not trying to do a whole diagram. I was just like, continue. Like, literally, I
have read 2 or 3 other books from Trelina, so it's not like it's the worst book in the world, because I definitely kept reading. I think this was the first one I read by her, too.
Oh, look at you reading the first one. Okay.
It happens sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely a solid 3. You know, if people are looking for a little spicy Christmas story, I definitely would recommend it. But, like, I think there were just certain things missing to give it the bells and whistles of a 4.
I get that. Can I have, like, a little mini rant? The title is Tangled in Tinsel. And when she wrapped herself in velvet...
Jay.
What?
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Why
if you were about to be upset that it's called Tangled in Tinsel, but she is wrapped in velvet, we are not ending this podcast this way.
Go ahead.
We will talk about this off camera.
I don't know if I want to have this conversation on camera. I refuse you.
Wait, you need an audience? You need a witness?
I just feel like I need to just be like, boop, boop. Like, literally when we were coming, I was like, what book was this again? I was like, oh yeah, okay.
I appreciate you finishing it.
I just want to let y'all know, this is because I love y'all as a book community. I put in the work. I did the job. So appreciate me appreciating you.
I will say that this is what happens when you allow a Grinch to pick a Christmas novel. So this is definitely your fault.
This is my fault. No.
You let me do this.
Chelsie, so here's the thing. I actually love that on the podcast. I think there's only 2 books that we reread. I love that it's coming across. Well, 2 books that I've reread. I think you have like 3 or 4. But at the same time, I love that it's a new experience. I love that I'm widening my horizons. I would have never read Legends and Lattes without this podcast, but I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So even Love Utley. I don't think I would have gotten into Love Utley without the podcast. I enjoyed it. Flawless. I enjoyed it. So I like the journey. I like having the new things. Yeah. In terms of like a Grinch picking Christmas movies, The Grinch is my all-time favorite Christmas movie, so I have no problems. This one was a miss, but that's a part of the reading journey. You keep going. If it wasn't for the podcast, I probably would have DNF'd it. But at the same time, I do like the author because there's a lot of things mixed in that I enjoy. So it's like, I'm not done with her writing. I will continue the journey. Just that this one wasn't the right one for me. And that's okay. So it's all a part of the reading experience.
Well, Jay, since we are in the holiday season, I think I'm going to change my sign off. Don't be a Scrooge. Be a Grinch.
We love a Grinch. We love a Grinch.
Thanks, guys, for watching another episode of the Lone Limit Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're curious about a Why Choose Romance, go ahead. Click the link in our description. You can go ahead and check out Trelina yourself. Let us know what you think about it. In the meantime, I have to go prepare for another Christmas book when I hate Christmas. So we will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Bye.